It's our time. It's our time.
Hey there, I'm Shubeeh from North of Normal, and this is One Song, One Story. The concept is simple. Each guest brings a song, and together we explore what it means to them, the memories it holds, the feelings it unlocks, the story it tells about who they are. Today's episode is about dignity, devotion, and remembering our place in the living world. I'm joined by Blagomira Kostova, speaking to us from the Sacred Valley in Peru, where nature, ritual, and presence are woven into everyday life. We talk about plant medicines, creativity, Indigenous wisdom, and the courage it takes to walk the inward path. The song Blagomira brings is a prayer more than a track, one that carries themes of life, death, water, humility, and the red road of the heart. I hope you enjoy. Okay, welcome to the One Song, One Story podcast, Blagomira Kostova. How are you?
I'm doing really great. It's a morning here in Peru, in the Sacred Valley of Peru, where I currently live. I'm with my coffee also and with you. So I had a really good night's sleep and I'm really excited for this space. So I actually feel amazing. I can hear the birds outside and the sun is coming up behind the mountains. So it's a really nice, beautiful day to begin here.
Beautiful. And I can hear the birds too. And I can see
Yeah,
there's
right?
kind of a little bit of the views behind, and it looks absolutely beautiful. Such a beautiful part of the world.
It is.
And
It is.
if your day today was a song, what would the title of that song be? And what would be the vibe?
Do you know the Just a Perfect Day? Just a
Yeah,
perfect day. I think
it's a
I think
great
that
song.
came to my mind for like immediately when you asked what would be the song title. So it's like Just a Perfect Day.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would probably be the answer every day, because you're in the Sacred Valley in Peru, right? Which is a pretty stunningly beautiful part of the world. So,
I feel there is something about yesterday I was traveling to Cusco, which is the center, the historical center of the Incas. And while traveling from the Sacred Valley, it's maybe 40 to 1 hour drive. I was looking at the mountains and I'm leaving Peru tomorrow. I'm going to Costa Rica and I will tell you about it in a moment. But I was looking at the mountains. It was a beautiful sunny day, even though
mm,
it's the active rainy season here. And I was praying, dear Peru, please receive me again one more time. I really want to come back because I feel that it's a relationship with nature and with this ancient environment that you
mm.
create, right? It's a coexistence in a very beautiful way.
Gonna say I agree. I think I've spent two weeks up in Cusco doing quite a few San Pedro Huachuma ceremonies at Temple of the Moon, and there is something about that place when you step out and look at the hills. Like, it's more than just views. There's like a power that you feel, or an energy that you feel when you're in that place. And I too often think, yeah, one day, I often talk to it, say, one day I'll be back. Like, I really dream of taking my family there just so we can just walk those beautiful sights and just, yeah, I don't know. It's always on my mind. It's never too far from my mind about a place that I feel connected to, and I can't wait to visit again.
Yes, and it's a very interesting thing about how people of these lands actually relate to the nature around. So they
Mm,
have this very sacred relationship of acknowledging the presence and the existence of our nature. So they speak to the local Quechua culture. They speak to the mountains as the sacred apples, and they
mm,
do special offerings to the energies of these ancient mountains. And something that I really adore about Peru is that they have a really abundant fruit and colors and shapes in everything that you can find on the local markets. But the really beautiful nuance that I love is that you can buy flowers. They sell and they buy and they walk with flowers for every occasion here. And it's a magic to bring a bunch of fresh flowers into your house and just to nourish your senses with a simple beauty. And this is something that speaks a little bit about the lifestyle that maybe I feel in our really rushed modern culture we have disconnected a little bit from.
Mm.
So yeah, this is something that really nourishes me when I come here, and I'm very grateful for that.
Beautiful. And one thing I love to do with guests is to explore a song that connects us. And so you may not have a song that connects to me or that you think of when you think of me, but I have a song that I think of when I think of you. It's a song called Dignity by Deacon Blue. Not a song I listen to at all, and not a song I particularly like, but it is purely comes up because of the word dignity. Now, I guess a bit of context, we first met last summer when I went to the Soltara ayahuasca plant medicine retreat where you were working as a facilitator, and you supported me through some pretty tough moments. And there was a moment when we were outside the Maloka and I was kind of struggling to just get a hold of myself and what was going on. And I remember you saying to me, very assertively, bring some dignity to your posture. And I remember it hitting me like a bolt. I think the first thing I felt was, it was almost like that thing when like a parent or a partner says your full name and you're like, oh, shit, what's going on here?
Oops, oops.
And then I remember just doing it and I straightened myself up and I felt that dignity and I felt the ability to breathe come back. I felt more grounded. And it happened again in another ceremony, but that time it was like muscle memory. Even hearing your voice say the word dignity, I was like, oh yeah, back in the room, grounded. It's just an experience. But literally when I see your face, I just think of that moment, dignity. And that's why this song comes up for me. It's a lovely memory I have, a really nice memory. It was a tough time, but beautiful memories to have.
Maybe I'm very grateful because while you were sharing this moment, I was having goosebumps all over my body. And I feel something that is very important for conversations like this is to come unfiltered, to come really authentic. And that was a really heartfelt memory. And for me, and maybe it's a good moment to give a little context about who I am and know what do I do in my life. But for me, working with plant medicine is actually about this, to empower yourself. I personally believe, and this is coming from my own personal journey of self-healing, self-growth, and exploring my inner landscape. I believe that plant medicine, the indigenous frames of ancient wisdom, are there to bring us to a space where we reconnect with our strength. This isn't something from the outside that somebody is doing for us. You just tune in with your own straightened up posture, with your own ability to, hey, where is my breath? To reconnect to your breath. And you tune with your own power that nobody can take away from you but yourself.
Mm.
So my name is Blagomira Kostova. I was born and raised in Bulgaria. Bulgaria is in Eastern Europe. And in a very mysterious way, I met with the medicine ayahuasca 15 years ago in Bulgaria. And from that moment, I have had the mercy and the great honor to meet in my life journey different indigenous traditions and frames, work with different plant medicines. I'm currently a plant medicine facilitator, preparation and integration coach. And something that I like to say about myself is that I'm also a mindfulness guide, and I work for Soltara. This is an amazing retreat center in Costa Rica. I'm very grateful for this moment to be here, and also for your memory, for what you just shared, because I feel that opened the space to heart and to authenticity, and I'm really grateful. I already feel landed here with you.
A pleasure. Very grateful for your support in that time. And I think the interesting thing about being on a retreat with someone, especially in your role as the facilitator, is that on one level, I will never ever forget you for the rest of my life. It feels like there's a bond between facilitators and guests that happen that is so powerful. Yet at the same time, you know very little about that person, and sometimes it's the details that you don't really need to know. But it's fascinating approaching something like this because we're reconnecting, We're going to talk about music and all sorts of things that we've never talked about before. And I guess the questions came up. And I think for me, apart from, I thought you'd be a fantastic guest. I remember you telling us a story about learning the ukulele and talking about the ukulele very passionately. And that is, in terms of creativity, that's kind of all I know, this amazing passion you had for ukulele. So would you describe yourself as a creative person?
I think I would describe I'm very passionate about ukulele, as you mentioned. Now I've picked up on an interest and curiosity of embroidery. I feel that I have always been very fascinated with colors, textures, and shapes. So this is where my love for bringing a bunch of flowers to my home every time that I can. I have bought myself embroidering hoops and colors that I'm taking with me to Costa Rica for my next shift starting on the 11th. And I plan to kind of find time because creativity, I also really like doodling and I have always been connected to words and writing poetry, but creativity in a way that you just sit and you work with your hands and you pause everything around you, which honestly I feel that there is no human being on this earth that is not connected to creativity in some way.
Yeah. So that's beautiful. And I guess on that train of thought, we had another guest on here that quoted, that read a book by Kay Tempest that talked about literally everything being an act of creativity, if you can see it in that way, from waking up in the morning to washing the dishes. It's sometimes a mindset about how you view the things that you do in life versus this is not a creative act and this is a creative act. It's about how you approach these. But I love what you said there about, just that space to stop and focus on something. And listen, you've got a really interesting song choice and we will get to it later, but I think already I'm seeing these threads come up that I'm super intrigued about talking more about in the context of this song. But in terms of music itself, before we get there, how's the ukulele practice going?
Ukulele is amazing, and for me, it has been a journey. If you remember, I hope I shared that I'm not one of these super talented people that pick up an instrument and really connect, like get it immediately. I needed some time to actually coordinate my strumming with my singing because when I would start singing with the uke, I would start mix up the strumming.
Yeah.
With some more practice, I actually nailed it down. And now I can accompany myself with a few tunes on the uke while I'm improvising with my singing. And singing is also something very interesting as part of this self-discovery journey
Mm.
that maybe I would like to talk about in relation to the song and in general life, right? Because what you touched on, the creative process being even washing the dishes, this is
Yeah.
exactly something that I'm very passionate about. And I feel is the ultimate goal, if there is a goal, if we can actually put it in that frame of growing inside of yourself. The ability to be so consumed in an experience, in an action, so present with what you're doing that it actually turns into art. It turns into a creative experience. Washing the dishes, but how are you going to wash them?
Yeah.
Automatically, without paying attention, leaving some, spots here and there, or you will put the best that you can and you will do it in the best way that you can. And I feel there is the dignity again of what the human potential. And if you ask me something about my own personal journey, I'm a journalist by education and I have worked in radio. So your invitation was particularly dear to me. But something that I can say, I have always been fascinated with the human being, with the capacity and the potential of the human nature, with the strength and the dignity and the potential of the human spirit. Because in the work that we do, and also, not only we go to the retreat with our own story, but we sit in the circle with people with other journeys and other planes of life. And sometimes the stories that you can hear are far more crazy than any movie that you can see out there. Life is such a creator, right? And it's just this strength of the spirit to overcome and to find
Yeah.
yourself and to come back to this path of honoring yourself. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think on that, yes, there are so many different stories that you hear in there. I think probably two things I'd say on that is what I always find fascinating is that it always seems to come down to some fairly common roots of things that we experience as modern day humans. And the second thing I'd say is I really enjoy the reaction of the maestros, where they seem so like, oh yeah, no, it's just a bit of that. I'll fix that later. And for us, it's like it's a lifelong struggle. They're like, yeah, I'll fix that tonight. And you're like,
Which is again another very interesting concept if you think. We are working with the Shipibo indigenous frame, and something that is very interesting about Shipibos is that they have not been contacted by missionaries or evangelist people not until late 19th and the beginning of the 20th. Why this is important is that this speaks of an uninterrupted lineage. So that tradition and culture of healing with plants and with songs in a ceremonial context has been passed from generation to generation for a very long time. And not until recently, they got some external influence by finally being connected by the missionaries and just opening their society to external communication. So there is something special about that. To me, it feels that the Shipibos are some of the last people that still have this ancient memory of how to consciously speak to plants. And I feel that one way or another, as you mentioned earlier, it all comes down to the human experience. And somewhere deep in the roots, we are all very connected. And I find similarities and references in very different indigenous frames down there in the roots, in the more global understanding of it. So I feel back in the time, all human beings were able to have that relationship to the spirit world and to the plant world around us.
yeah, it's actually something that came up. I had our friend Todd Michael Roberts on, and we were kind of talking about something that fascinates me is that when the maestros sit and diet plants at a certain point, the plant will give them a song. And I was fascinated by how it came in kind of music form. But the healing songs they have, and as you said, the songs that have been passed down through their lineage seems like such a huge part of their wisdom. And again, when we met at Soltara, you talked about other indigenous cultures that you'd sat with. Do you find the similarities in terms of song, music, and sound? Are these sort of threads running through indigenous cultures in a different way, or would you not say that there's a kind of a similar thread there?
Something that I find the similarity deep in the roots is that relationship and that connection to nature. Just
Mm,
realizing that this is something alive that you can actually learn how to communicate with. That the same way that people here at the beginning of our conversation, they live their life, they acknowledge the presence of nature around them. They work with coca leaves and they have this prayer of putting 3 coca leaves together. It's called the kintu, and they blow their breath towards the coca leaves and they
yeah.
offer them to the land, to the hill, to the Pachamama. And this is something that I find in every indigenous traditions that I have had the mercy and the honor to actually be received and be part of as a very humble student, What I find, and I just came back from the jungle maybe 10 days ago, sitting in the same plant dieta that the maestros take as part of their preparation to become healers and to become maestros. And here I want to make a very important note. I don't go to these dietas and I don't go to these teachings because I see myself one day becoming a Shipibo healer. No, I approach this as a humble student because I feel that exactly because of the deep connection with everything there in the roots of the traditions, I can learn more about myself. I can learn more about my inner strength. I can learn more about my own personal medicine. And in the spirituality of the natives of the North, they actually say that when you heal yourself, you become a medicine for the others. In no other way, but just as the example of what is possible within that human potential and within that capacity. And I really love that. I feel this gives you a sense of humbleness, not the false identity of a shaman wanna be or a healer wanna be. No, but I
Yeah.
do have my own personal medicine that I can share with the world. And I don't need a false identity to give me a sense of purpose, right? My purpose is that journey, that humble journey of uncovering who is this person? Who is this life story and this plane that I have the
Mm.
honor to actually live, right? And I feel the healing journey really goes to reconnecting with your own self, looking inside, tuning with your own internal landscape. If you allow me, we did a very little mindfulness and connecting to our breath moment
Yes.
right before we started the recording, which was very amazing. And this is, even if I have the best intentions to help somebody, to help you, for example, right? I cannot relax your shoulders or your belly muscles for you. I cannot do that. And that is amazing because only you have ownership of, and access to this internal landscape. So
Yeah.
what you do with that and how you do yourself in your inner world is your own making or not making. And
Mm.
that's as simple as that is.
Yeah. That's really beautiful. And yeah, I agree with everything you said. It's often the toughest path to walk is really, really just
I
looking
agree.
inside and working on yourself. Yeah, it's for the brave, I think. And
I agree. I agree.
please carry on.
You need a certain touch of bravery to actually look inside yourself and confront the narrative of the mind that tells you that something inside of you is not good enough. Because the same way, and this comes from the spirituality, I feel that we're going towards presenting the song, but this goes also as an understanding in the spirituality of the natives in the First Nations of North America. They say that when we sit in a circle, the hoop is a sacred form because in the circle, nobody is more, nobody is above, and nobody is
Mm.
less than anybody else. So recognizing that where you are sitting, that is your place, and that you are no more, but you're also no less than everybody in that space gives you that sense again of personal dignity, right? The human nature is imperfect, but also there is something really perfect about it. Mm. Yeah.
Thank you. And in terms of music, when do you remember music becoming part of your life? Like, is there a memory of that first moment or falling in love with a song when you were younger? Do you have early memories like that?
I have early memories. My mom was passionate listener to some Italian estrada music. So it was the time of cassettes and very different from the digital world that we live in. And then I feel as part of my personal journey, when I was about 13 years old, I kind of, for the first time, heard more raw music. And I tuned in with punk music. I shaved my
Yeah.
sides. I had the mohawk hairstyle, and it was yeah, it's very interesting. I honestly feel that because I had the chance to express this natural protest of when you grow up, when you're in those teenage years, when the world seems like, what is going on here? And
Mm.
who am I? And who are these parents? And what do they want from me? I feel that I just had this unique opportunity of just expressing that natural protest that comes with you connecting with your own truth and your, like essence of saying no and finding what is your yes. And then from there, yes, I have connected with classical music everywhere that I travel. I'm also a translator and interpreter, and I have traveled a lot around the world for the medicine work that I'm doing and also for other projects. Every time that I would go somewhere, I would check if they have a symphonic orchestra in the city, and I would try to
Wow.
visit concert, and it's such a beauty to connect with that music as well, with the classical frame. And
Yeah.
yeah, I do have very various interests. I'm a passionate hardcore fan. I try to go to festivals and concerts still to this day when I can. And I feel something about that music is this raw strength of nature forces like earthquake or a volcano
Yeah.
eruption or a thunder. There is this expression which we also have as part of our human nature, right?
Mm.
So I don't know if you can imagine me in the mosh pit, but I am there.
Absolutely. That's so fascinating what you say, because I think I've had experiences, I think they've been on both on San Pedro Huachuma, where I've felt like I experienced the rhythm of life, and it made me actually feel quite uncomfortable because instead of, like a sort of an accent like ta 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 ta, or like a heartbeat, there was no accent. Everything was boom, 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 boom. And it was quicker than I expected. And it made me uncomfortable because it felt like relentless. And it felt like this was the drumbeat to the building blocks of life. And it felt like we're going to keep going. You can keep up for a little bit, then you're going to drop. And it felt quite intimidating, as in like, oh my God, this is going so fast and I can't keep up. And yeah, it's a fascinating experience I've had twice. But yeah, it's fascinating when I remember sitting there thinking, wow, this is how quick the nature is moving and it never stops and it just keeps evolving. And we are just this tiny little try and keep up for a bit, then drop. And then I found it really interesting. So when you talk about,
It is interesting.
rhythm and fast-paced rhythm and how it has an effect on the body, I can see something so deeply ingrained in our bodies that's maybe reacting to that.
And also this somehow when you're speaking about that, I had this little moment of how humbling that experience is, right?
Mm,
Because there is this false understanding of our modern culture. And this is something that we also speak in the context of this internal journey of healing and growing, is that in our modern culture, we try to distract ourselves from feeling uncomfortable. But that's a false idea of how things are. There is this strength of finding your comfort in being uncomfortable, because life and the nature of life is impermanence. And how can you hold something? You try to hold sand in your hands. Not really. And and
mm,
and this, I feel the humbleness that comes when we connect to this majestic nature force is just to come back inside again, and to come to a gratitude of, hey, even for that little moment that I can keep up with this rhythm and I'm given this time, I can at least lift up my head and look at the sky and
yeah.
acknowledge that I see these beautiful hues, and I see there is a hummingbird outside right now and
Mm,
a bunch of butterflies and so many colors. How often in our life do we just pause to be, to just look? And I invite you even now, while you are sitting here and we're having this beautiful conversation, look around. What do you see around yourself? And how do you feel with the scarf around your neck? And do you feel the warmth? And this beauty of just pausing for the simple things. Where is my breath?
thank you. And I feel
Thank you.
that the song is bursting to get through. So just before I ask you what the song is, I think a quick heads up for anyone tuning in for the first time is this isn't a deep dive into music theory or anything like that. This show is about the stories behind songs and the ways they become part of who we are. So if you haven't heard the track we're about to explore or Blagomira is about to talk about, please take a second to pause, give it a listen, and then come back. And I think you'll feel the conversation just hits a little deeper once the song's in your head. So, Blagomira, what is the song that you have brought with you today?
The song is called Solo Dios Sabe si Vuelvo, and it's by Coral Rojo. It's a very beautiful song that we've had our connection with you before Christmas. And when you shared the concept of the podcast and the space that you hold for this beautiful exploration of personal stories, that was the song that I knew that I will bring into the space. And funny enough, during Christmas, I just had a group of friends and my brother visiting me from Bulgaria to Peru. And we were preparing like a Christmas dinner together. And somebody was playing a Spotify playlist, and bang, that song came through.
Oh,
And I'm like, oh, you know that I that I will share you with people. It's a very beautiful song.
that's
And later
interesting.
on, before this, yes, I mean, it's again, some natives call this and refer this, and Jung spoke of it as the synchronicities. These are the very important coincidences that are so important in your personal context that they cannot be a coincidence.
Yeah.
And the natives speak of it as the great mystery. These are things that happen in the flow of life and so related to your internal frame that you cannot fully explain. And even if you try to put them into words, it will not do them justice. So yeah, these little moments, aha moments.
Yeah, I agree.
Please go
And I
on. Please
think
go on.
it's a theme that comes up on nearly every episode is that these songs that people choose, when it first finds them, when it comes back to them, it seems to be so much more than coincidence. There seems to be a real reason why this song came into their lives. And, whether you look at it on a pure vibration and frequency level in what it does to their body or a message that they were meant to receive, it seems like there's something much bigger than coincidence or chance of play. And it's fascinating that you said this was, this, when I reached out, that this was the song that came up. Do you think that it would have been the song that came up 6 months ago, or did it feel like the right song for where you are at right now?
I feel it maybe would have come up 6 months ago. This is a song that has a very special meaning to me. Also, first, when I heard that, I was in País Vasco. This is the Basque country in Spain, getting ready to go up for my first year of a vision quest. And then, interestingly enough, it has come up last year when I sat for my first plant dieta in the jungle within the Shipibo tradition. On the final ceremony of my dieta, the protection seal of the plant dieta, there was a girl and I would like to honor her. Her name is Georgia. She plays the guitar and she's very passionate about music, really talented as well. So on that final night, closing, it was a very big process, 1 month sitting in the jungle. And maybe if the space allows it, I want to share that I also receive a melody or a tune when I sit in those plant diets, not as refined as the maestros do, because I don't speak Shipibo and I don't have a reference point to the Shipibo collective conscious and unconscious. But she sang that song on the final night of my dieta, 1 month dieta in the jungle. And it was very meaningful because in the song, they say there is a line in which they say, Camino Rojo, solo Dios sabe si vuelvo. And the translation of that is red road. Maybe I will give a little context of what the red road means, but only God knows if I will return. And when we speak of Camino Rojo, there is this renewed spirituality of the First Nations of North America that they have fought for their independence to express and to practice their spiritual practices for so many years. And now, after the American Indian movement, fighting for their sovereignty of expressing their spirituality the way that their ancestors did, there is this term that speaks about this Native American spirituality. It's called the Camino Rojo, or the Red Road, the road and the path of the heart.
Mm.
So this song has a lot of reference to how the First Nations of North America orient themselves in the world. It is related to the four winds, which speaks for the four directions of the world: the east, the south, the west, and the north. But there are not only four directions in the world. Apart from these four that we have already mentioned, there is the direction above to the Father Sky, and there is
Mm.
the direction down below to the Mother Earth. And there is the direction to the heart, where the spirit resides, our own heart, because the spirit resides in that internal space that we have already mentioned a few times during our conversation. And something about this song, the last part of the song, it speaks, llena de alegría, danza la muerte a mi lado. This translates like full of joy, death dances next to me. My death is dancing right next to me. And
Mm.
for me, when I first heard this song, this really hit me because, as we mentioned before, in our culture, in our fast paced modern world, where we need special practices to just pause and witness, we also very much distract ourselves to think about death, which is a natural
Yeah.
thing that goes with life.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that jumped out at me, the part about death, because my partner, Rach, at the moment is doing an end-of-life doula course, and she's kind of going through that process and talking to me about it, and the way of looking at death, the way of thinking about death. I never realized it, but it's it's something I do not want to face. And she's probably a lot more comfortable talking about death and, let's plan an amazing death and all these sort of things. And I'm like, okay, I didn't know it, but this is quite a lot, but I'm certainly learning a lot. And part of the work she's doing was speaking to different people. I think she spoke to one of our friends from the Quiero Nation up in Cusco, which she talked about their concept of death and how death works for them. And it's kind of a learning curve, but yeah, I guess that bit stood out. What I would certainly encourage, and normally before a podcast, I will try and do some research into a song. I listened to this song and it was incredibly powerful, and it's fascinating to hear the way that they sing the words and chant the words. But then I translated the words into English, and even then they are so poetic that I was like, well, I'm not sure this is really landing with me yet. So I'm super intrigued for you to talk about it, because it's on the face of it, it feels like there is so much going on about life and death and connection to earth that maybe hasn't quite hit home for me yet. But even if you didn't know any of that, it's a beautiful listen. But intrigued in terms of when you first heard it, what hit you first? Was it the sound of the song? Was it the lyrics that hit you? How did you kind of receive it?
It was sung in a ceremony, TP ceremony, that is held before people are sent out to the mountain as part of a ritual, as part of a prayer experience that is called the Vision Quest. It is practiced by some of the Plains tribe, the First Nations of North America. And it was my first year going up to the mountain to pray. It's called Vision Quest. Or Hamblecheya. And it is very interesting. You go up in the mountain for 4 days and 4 nights. There are different structures, but I feel the original way of doing that is 444, again, related to that understanding of four colors of humanity, four directions, four cardinal directions of the world, four elements, and their spirituality is so connected to nature again. as every Indigenous experience. So I was in a ceremony that night, and it was not the original singer who played it. I didn't hear the recording of it. I just heard somebody in the teepee singing the song with the maraca, with the sonaja. And I feel that it just hit me because of how it speaks to Mother Nature. Again, because once we acknowledge nature, we recognize that we have place there. I recognized that I belong to this world of nature as much as it is part of me as well. I have my own place in this living organism. And I say this very humbly. I don't say this as an arrogant statement of I have or I own. And when I heard the part of full with joy at dances by my side, this really struck me. I don't know, since the first moment that I have heard that song, this really stayed with me. Maybe because we don't speak and we are not very ready to the concept of death in our modern world. But something about those lyrics really fascinated me. And the middle of the song, they speak about water. Water is the bringer of life. And when you go up to the mountain for this Vision Quest experience, you sit in the mountain for 4 days and 4 nights, no food, no water, in isolation, up in the mountain. And in the original form of this prayer ceremony is that you go there praying for a vision for your life. This is how they used to initiate into adulthood their young warriors in the tribes.
Wow.
They would go up in the mountain with just a skin, and they would sit up there in the hill with no food, no water, very similar to the deprivation that the maestros in the Shipibo tradition in the Amazonian jungle sit in a plant dieta, deprived from any kind of stimuli, to ask for this connection to the plant world. Interesting. I find some similarity there. So you go up, and honestly, 4 days and 4 nights with no food is not a big deal. It's a very unique experience to witness in the silence, being out there in nature, in the silence to witness the craziness of your mind. The first 2 days for me were like just witnessing how crazy, how active my mind is. All these kind of thoughts coming a mental purge. And then on the third day, I feel that I woke up with the first ray of the sun, just the first ray of the sun. I felt so tuned with the rhythm of life out there. I felt that I'm no longer a foreign element planted there in the forest. I felt that I am part of it. I woke up with the first ray of sun. I could hear the birds welcoming the sunrise. I could feel the wind touching the skin of my face. Really poetic, but it is an actual experience that I have had. And then there was this unique silence in my mental space. This silence which allowed me to actually feel very present with everything that is breathing around me. And you do this for 4 years. Initially, of course, to honor the lessons of every direction. And up there, what is very important, and you understand the importance of what is water. What is water? And you are sent up to the mountain with the sweat lodge, the last water that you receive before you go to this quest for a vision for your life is through the humidity and the beauty of the sweat lodge, the steam that really hydrates your cells. And then you are received after 4 days and 4 nights. Early in the morning of the 5th day, you are brought in, and the first water that you receive is through the sweat lodge. And it's a very unique experience. You've been so hydrated, your mouth is so dry, your lips are so dry, and you are very, very thirsty, you know? And then you sit in the sweat lodge, and suddenly through the skin and the pores of your skin, you feel how your body starts to drink through this very gentle way of introducing water to you.
Wow.
To go back to the song, there is this part of the song in which they sing, "It's your waters, mother, that give life to my people. It's your waters that are breaking down as tears from my eyes. because on my land, we no longer sing to you, water. And that's really powerful. I'm now saying this and I have goosebumps all over my body, not because of anything, but because this speaks so much to me. Back in the time, we had this luxury to pause and to witness water, to pause and to witness the elements, the nature that surrounds us. And we are no longer doing this. We no longer sing to you, to your waters, mother, is a very powerful line for me. And being up there in the mountain as a very humble student to this indigenous understanding of how to reconnect to these essentials of what water is in our life.
Mm.
And then after the sweat lodge, they gave us a tea with some herbs that they have picked up from the hill around us. I cried like a baby with the first sip of water. And it might sound like a loser, but for me it was such a magical moment of acknowledging what the thing we believe is so simple and we approach as something automatic. Very often we forget to drink water. What importance it is, how it's a bringer of life.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. Wow. There's something very powerful about that, I think. Listening to you talk about your experience there, the title of the song, did you say, am I right in saying it translated as Only God Knows If I'll Return?
Yes. Only
Yeah.
God knows if I will return.
I mean, that seems to apply to your experience on such multiple levels, right? I mean, yeah, I guess there's a
It's so
physical fear
interesting,
of
true.
maybe I'm not going to eat and drink, but who knows? You don't know who's going to come back down, right? Whether it's going to be you or a different version of yourself, or it feels like this title's taken on such deeper meaning now that you've talked about your experience. I guess what is the title stir in you
I
like
agree.
emotionally when you hear that title?
I feel in my personal context, it speaks a little bit about a hero's journey. And it touches a little bit about that bravery that you mentioned early in our conversation of that bravery to look inside. Because the red road, Camino Rojo, this is how the song ends. Camino Rojo, solo Dios sabe si vuelvo. Red road, only God knows if I will return. This red road is the path towards you, to your inner space, to find your own heart and to find the meaning in your own internal landscape. And to me personally, it feels like a hero's journey, a journey in which I embarked to find myself. And if I have to be honest, which I feel is the purpose of this meeting and conversation and space, I cannot fully say that I have found myself. And I actually feel that there is no moment in life in which I will wake up and I will say, that's it. I've woken up, I have found myself. And this is the charm and the beauty of this path. The path of growth and the path of going inward never ends. But the more that you walk it with humbleness and and it's not an easy path. Don't feel that I have been only walking up the hill and, singing and whistling happy tunes, or every day is just a perfect day. No, not at all. It's actually there are moments in which you need to destroy a concept of who I am. I had to destroy and to just break into pieces a sense of my identity so that in the process of integration, I can rebuild myself in a more true way, in a way and I feel it's all related to a clarity. It's all related to a clarity. What is important for me? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that really resonates with me. I remember, I think when I spent a few years working quite a bit with plant medicines, people would ask a sort of a bit of a loaded question of, have you found yourself yet, or something like that. And it never landed with me. I always thought, it's for me, it was like you mentioned there, it was simply about shedding layers that didn't serve me anymore. It wasn't about finding myself. It was just getting rid of the stuff that clouded or distracted me from living with self. And it's interesting that you say you've never got there, because I wonder if there is a destination. Like, we are constantly evolving, right? We're constantly growing. So really, is it just, it's a life's work, I guess. I don't know, but fascinating topics to certainly think about. And when you listen to this song now, or when you experience this song, I'm curious, because this is the beauty of having these songs that we carry through life, is that they develop in weight and meaning and significance. Do you kind of experience this song in your body or memory or imagination? How does it kind of come to you when you listen to it nowadays?
You know about my journey with ukulele, and it comes with the journey of singing. I feel that majority of people, when it comes to sing in front of other people, experience a sense of being shy and a little uncomfortable. What would people say about my singing? How will I be perceived? And I can relate to that. In the early years of my medicine journey, I felt really shy to sing until during one ceremony, a maestro from the Shuar tradition in Ecuador, this is an indigenous tribe that lives in Ecuador, very close to the border of Peru. So the Shuar tradition, that maestro particularly was working with the medicine of the word. So the ceremony would go all night, and early in the morning with the dawn, the maestro will somehow tune to share with the space all the processes that he has witnessed during the night, and to wrap that whole experience with some words. And during that ceremony, particularly, I had a song. So at some point, when he's done with the traditional healing and he would sing personal healing songs to every participant, he would invite the space to share. If somebody has a song, or if somebody wants to play an instrument, to contribute to the healing space. And that particular ceremony, I had a song locked in my throat. And when he was wrapping the ceremony with the medicine of the word, he said something that really stayed with me and helped me to open up to the singing. And I have not forgotten where that started. I will come back to the song. So he said, guys, if you have a song that you want to sing, don't think of it as your song. Again, don't make it from the mind something that you own, that is yours. Think of it as a prayer. Ask yourself deep in your heart, do you have a prayer? Do you have something to pray for? Do you have something to ask for, to work for, to be a mission in your life? And I felt that really strongly. And on the next ceremony, when I had the chance, I sang that song. So how Solo Dios Sabe si Vuelvo by Camino Rojo, how it has unfolded for me with the time is that I actually listened to it a moment before I sit with you here in our shared space. It comes to me to sing with it. I no longer think about it, and I feel that it no longer brings any mental association or relationship to. I just simply sing, and I don't think about it. It has turned into a pure expression of how my heart resonates and vibrates with this song. Another space where this song has accompanied me, um, I wa- I first heard it when I was learning about the indigenous ways of the First Nations of North America. But as I told you, it also came to me when I was apprenticing within the Shipibo tradition, being out there in the jungle doing my first plant dieta. But we all also mentioned I work for Soltara, and Ilan, our retreat director, he also really loves this song. So the last few shifts that I have worked, we will always find a space to sing this song together during a fire night that we end our retreats with, a fire circle in which everybody is invited to sing the song.
Yeah.
So it has come to me in so many different layers of my life that now all I can do is just sing with it, and
Oh.
sing with it in that sense of singing a prayer. just bringing it into the space and not even thinking about it, only feeling it. So yeah, this is how it feels for me. And I even sang on the balcony this morning to the birds with all the hummingbirds around me. And I felt really good. I felt encouraged to come here in the space with you, and yeah, I really hope that people will play the song. And it is in Spanish, but yeah, it is in Spanish. But you can find the lyrics and translate them to a simple Google Translate just to get an idea. But if not to make it too mental, I hope that they will just tune with the rhythm. It's a very, very pure manifestation of how we can honor nature within and nature
Mm,
around us through, our gifts.
yeah. And I absolutely loved what you said there, um, about that it's kind of evolved from not even listening to the song anymore. When you were talking, I just had just a thought that it's almost like you've just drunk this song and now you just sing it. Now it's just it's in your body and you sing it now. You don't need to listen to it or take it in externally. It's just in you now. That's incredible. That's incredible. And it is an interesting point you raise about the lyrics, because I think it depends how people like to consume music and listen to it. Like, I'm not super focused on the lyrics. What struck me first was just this deep power of the chanting that happens. And then when I did translate the lyrics to English, they were beautifully poetic, but it did get me slightly more in my head thinking about, like, what are they trying to say? What is the meaning? And picking up on some bits, but I still think certainly a worthwhile exercise. But I think what you've done amazingly is give a little bit of context into how you receive this song and what you think the meaning is, and touch on some of the key themes, which has, if nothing, helped me get a better understanding for that song. And I think afterwards, I can't wait to go and listen to the song again in light of what we've talked about, and kind of feel it again. And I think that would be beautiful. What do you think this particular song choice says about you?
Aha, that's a very good question. Maybe it speaks of me as somebody who appreciates and has their own personal relationship to nature. And I feel what the song is about, I feel it very deeply in my heart. And in a very humble way, it speaks of me as somebody who loves nature and who appreciates nature. I feel this is what it says about me. Maybe it could speak a little bit about somebody who has explored the topic of death, the topic of what death means if you look at it through the perspective of life. Because if I know and if I actually am aware of the presence of my death dancing joyfully right by my side, if I have this awareness that she can come and take me for a tango, because it takes two to tango, right? And takes me for a tango at any moment, right? That nothing is promised. Maybe I will take more time to actually look at the colors outside and see that there
Mm,
are all these yellow flowers and these purple flowers out there, and again another hummingbird, right? And it will just, I will take the moment to feel comfortable in my body, and I will take the moment to speak to you or to any other human being, trying to actually be present. And in my personal journey of self exploration and healing, peeling the layers, I used to be somebody that could not stay still in a
mm,
conversation. I could not land my presence in a space. My mind my attention was split between thousands of thoughts, which is the natural loop of our mind. Just becoming curious. In my case, I feel that curiosity is a quality that has saved me versus killed me as a cat. Curiosity of how can I actually make this internal landscape a better experience for myself. Because yes, I feel that in order for us to improve a quality of how we feel inside of ourselves, we just need a little curiosity and a little bravery, as you also said. So I feel this is what this song speaks of me. My deep reverence to nature, also from the understanding that I am part of it in a humble way, not in an arrogant way that I am, that important, I am part of nature. No. Also what you talked about with the majestic rhythm of this life, with the majestic rhythm of this creation, it just continues. It's not waiting for you to understand it or even to
Yeah.
perceive it. It's your choice if you will acknowledge it or not. And that was when I first heard the song. It was my first year of going up in the mountain for my first vision quest, and it has been already a few years since me and my brother sat in our first ayahuasca ceremony and worked with the ayahuasca plant world. And something that happened is I went to this first teepee ceremony, and something that really got me for this path and for this journey was a few words that the person who was holding the space said during the ceremony. He said, "Change your project of death with a project for life." Meaning that the way that we are living unconsciously right in this moment, again, it is a project for death. You're not conscious. Inevitably, that happens. But what if you change this project for death with becoming curious and more present and more passionate of what life can be? And those little things that I can do personally in my life, nothing too big, but just be aware of my thoughts, be aware of what is important for me, be aware of how I relate to others and to myself. And that really
Mm.
got me. I'm like, oh, who is this man? These words really resonate with me. And this is how he got me. And I went to my first vision quest. And actually, that was one of the best things that ever happened to me, along with my first ever ayahuasca ceremony that just opened this beautiful journey, humble journey.
Thank you. That phrase is definitely going to stick with me a long time. And thank you for that amazing answer. We are starting to come towards the end of our conversation, but before we do, looking back on what we've shared, the song, the story, the memories it carries, is there anything that stands out for you right now or anything new that's come up at all?
I feel that we really touched on many layers of what a personal relationship to a song could be, and also because you and me we have met in this very unique environment of you came there to Soltara and we met by the mercy of this life and this like mystery of what is the creation because we were both on the journey, on the hero's journey of finding ourselves and healing and peeling more layers of what is not true and what is no longer serving us. There is a moment, if you embark on this journey of self discovery, in which it is possible, and I find myself in this moment of my life, in which I feel in a complete harmony with who I am currently. And I love myself as a human being. I feel comfortable in this physical vehicle. And I'm really taking time to chew and to feel the flavors of life with all that life brings. And
Mm,
I wish that people get a little more curious about how they can bring a sense of that to their life.
yeah. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for that. And listen, it's just been so amazing speaking with you. And thank you for bringing this song, a song that wasn't in my life before. So thank you for bringing it into my life. And thank you for bringing yourself so openly. It's been amazing. Before we do close, where can people find you, follow you, connect with you?
Well, they can find me as a plant medicine facilitator at Soltara's retreats. I'm also part of Soltara's coaching program. I support people as part of their preparation and the integration journey before and after working with ayahuasca. I am planning to create a personal space in which I can share my experience with mindfulness and how this has worked for me in my own personal journey. But so far, I don't have that space. So yeah, I mean, I feel that I'm so immersed in the work and in the space that Soltara offers. In a very respectful way, I speak of them. Also because in more than 15 years of personal journey, I have sat in settings and spaces that are not that safe. And those who have been the hardest experiences for me. And we have touched a little bit on plant medicine work. Maybe this is another important note that I would like to bring in our spaces. Working with plant medicine can be very safe and very meaningful if it happens in a well-crafted setting, working with the indigenous tradition, not with some Western interpreters or shaman wannabes. And I say that with a lot of respect for that journey of the individual. So something that I really find in the Soltara environment is this respect for the actual tradition, this honor for the actual lineage carriers. And you've witnessed that. We really bring people from the Amazonian jungle, and these are people that are very culturally different from us. They have a very different understanding of what the world is. This is a space, not the only one, but for me, this is the space where I find this work as a mission, as a way to serve to this human potential and capability to shift and to grow. So yeah, it's Soltara within the Soltara frame and environment. And if I do create that space, I feel it's part of my new season. That individual project that I'm looking into, it will be blagomira.co. I'm not very particularly active in the online space. I really prefer this personal relationship and connection, but I'm very grateful for the space that you have offered. I feel that you gave me an opportunity to come here to this space the way that I am, right in this moment of my life, with this beautiful morning, my final day here in Peru before I travel back to Costa Rica. And I'm grateful for you honoring my medicine, honoring my spirit, and I'm grateful for your invitation.
I'm very grateful that you came on, and I wish you the very best on your return to Costa Rica. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you as well. Blessings for your own journey, blessings for the sprouting of your seed, and I hope we meet again. I hope we meet again.
Me too.
It's our time. It's our time. It's our time.